Hi there, and welcome back to Out There, a cryptid podcast. I'm your host, Josh. Each week, there's a new episode focused on a cryptid that I find super fascinating and weird. And if you don't know what a cryptid is, it is defined as an animal that has been claimed to exist, but never proven to exist. Cryptids don't have to be supernatural or mythical beings, although many of them are. Some cryptids have actually become documented animals. Make sure you go and follow the podcast on Instagram, at Out There Cryptids, and check out the posts I make for each episode, and maybe send some suggestions you'd like to hear. This week, we are talking about a cryptid that was the star of a famous movie franchise. It is a large intestine-like worm that roams the sand of the Gobi Desert. There have been a large number of expeditions by cryptozoologists, anthropologists, and even scientists to find out what could be living beneath the desert. With the ability to electrocute its victims and spray a harsh venom, it's been reported to terrorize the local people in the Gobi Desert for centuries. The Mongolian deathworm. Today's Weird Club inductee is my friend Carly. She's an awesome human being who can sing and dance her face off. Plus, she was raised on an orange farm, and they are delicious. Okay, let's dive in. Picture this. You're walking through the desert when all of a sudden you feel the sand tremble under you. It's almost as if a train just zoomed by beneath the ground. Then the sand opens up and a giant red, almost blood-colored worm opens its mouth and a yellow substance covers you and everything goes blank. Well, that is exactly what would happen if you encountered one of these death worms. Reports date back to when Mongolian nomads would write of something to fear during their journeys, saying the giant worm covers its prey with an acidic substance that turns everything a corroded yellow color. The story goes on to say that as the creature begins to attack, it raises half its body out of the sand and starts to inflate until it explodes, releasing the lethal poison all over the unfortunate victim. The poison is so venomous that the prey dies instantly. The local people have a different name for this creature. They call it Algoi kokoi, which means intestine worm, due to its resemblance to cow intestines. Obviously, people fear the worm, but many of them also believe just hearing or saying its name brings bad luck. These worms are reportedly 2 to 7 feet long, but it's hard to really tell due to the worm never really fully coming out of the sand. However, June and July, during the rainy seasons, it comes to the surface. Many locals say that they have seen deathworms during that time. There are actually a wide variety of sightings / expeditions over the years, and the first famous one was in the 1920s. 1926, American paleontologist Roy Chapman Andrews and his crew were on one of their many expeditions to the Gobi Desert. Andrews had become famous when he found fossilized dinosaur eggs there in the years prior. In his book, On the Trail of Ancient Men, he describes a time when he did see something odd on one of his trips. He says that he saw what looked to be the tail of a worm submerging under the sand. But not just a normal worm, a huge worm. Andrews is even skeptical of his own sighting. He describes hearing many stories of a strange worm-like creature that lived beneath the sand. The creature they call Algoi kokoi. Now, you might hear Roy Chapman Andrews and think it sounds familiar. Well, that's because he was the inspiration for Indiana Jones. But in the same book, he described how he had talked with the Mongolian prime minister who wanted to catch the Mongolian deathworm, or Algoi kokoi, because the worm had killed one of his relatives. Even with his own possible sighting, Andrews wasn't sold on there being a giant worm living in the Gobi Desert. But what he did do was introduce the Westerners to this cryptid. Since his book was widely published and sold, many people got to learn about the Mongolian deathworm. This started a fairly big interest from people, probably like us, who wanted to know more about this thing. So, expeditions slowly began over the next decade, and there were many of them. The next major expedition was conducted between the years 1946 and 1949. Yuri Orlov said that he witnessed such a creature. Him and his crew went deep into the Gobi Desert to find the existence of the Mongolian deathworm. Since they had their own sighting earlier, they were able to compare their sighting with the one described by the locals. And they matched. But there aren't a ton of specifics on their sightings, or sighting. But nonetheless, it has been linked with the deathworm tales and history. Around this time, Ivan Yefremov, a paleontologist and sci-fi writer, wrote a short story about a worm which resembled a bloody intestine that could grow to the length of a small man and mysteriously killed people at great distances, possibly with poison or electricity. Now, moving right along throughout the timeline, in the late 90s, Ivan Mackerel, a Czech cryptozoologist, conducted many expeditions in hopes of being the person to find proof of this beast. He brought a new method that he thought might just bring the creature out from under the sand, a thumping device. This was inspired by the book Dune, but basically it sent shockwaves into the ground that theoretically would bring anything under the sand to the surface. Well, apparently it didn't work, or at least no worms came to the surface. But while they were there, a group of nomads that they became friends with told them about how the color yellow would attract the worm. Now, this isn't the first time people were hearing about this report, but nonetheless, this set a positive example to other explorers on how to find new and inventive ways to see the creature without harming it. All that being said, there was something very odd that happened to Mackerel on his investigation. Mackerel and his team stopped by a Buddhist monastery. They spoke to a monk there that claimed the creature they were searching for was a creature of supernatural evil. Now, this was a new one for the explorers. They had never heard of the deathworm having any supernatural abilities or being linked to the supernatural world at all. The monk went on to say that they were endangering their lives searching for the creature. They all left the monastery and chalked the warnings up to one person's interpretation of this worm, and didn't think much about it. That night, Mackerel had a vivid dream about the worm. He says that he woke up drenched in sweat, and the weirdest part is that he had unexplained blood-filled boils on his back. This opens up a whole new possible side of this cryptid. I mean, could it have something to do with spirits or demonic forces? This is the only indication towards this side of the deathworm, but it is very interesting to think about. Could be why these expeditions haven't turned up much evidence. I mean, either way, Mackerel collected enough photographs, footage, and data to make a documentary of his trip to Mongolia, broadcasted on the Czech television in 1993 as The Sand Monster Mystery. Now, the story I'm about to say is a very common story told originally by nomads about the deathworm. It is unclear when it originated, but I've read it in multiple sources. So here's the sad story of the boy and the deathworm. In a village in Mongolia near the Gobi Desert, a young boy was playing with a ball he got. The ball was something he loved so much apparently, and it was his favorite color, yellow. He plays for a long time in the sand and eventually makes his way back home. His parents were out at the market when he got back, so it was just him for a little bit. It's reported that when his parents arrived back to the house, they found the ball laying next to an imprint in the sand. The imprint had a strange mucousy substance nearby, but the indications in the sand led out of the house and into the desert. That was when they figured out what had happened. Their son was attacked and taken by the Algoi Kokoi. They had heard about this creature and sadly assumed the worst. But they must take their revenge on the beast that killed their son, so they followed the tracks in the sand. The other villagers told them not to, fearing that they would see the same fate as their poor son. The parents didn't listen. They took off in search of the deathworm that killed their son. After the parents didn't return as night fell upon the village, they all feared the worst. Whatever killed the young boy killed his parents as well. People that lived in villages in the area were terrified of this cryptid. In 2015, a cryptozoologist named Richard Freeman reported that a whole village was shifted from its position when villagers heard about the sighting of this venomous animal. There was another interesting story that they heard during their time there. The local interpreter told them a story about another group searching for the deathworm. The story was that this other group had traveled to the interpreter's home village. Apparently one of them was poking the sand with the help of an iron rod, and then suddenly felt off. He apparently screamed this to the others, but by the time they reached him, he was already dead. But it didn't stop there. The others felt a sudden shake in the ground and then saw something round coming out of the sand. They ran for their life. Now, this is very frustrating to hear because if it is true, they could have caught the beast on camera. But also, I totally get it because their friend had just been killed and they didn't want to be next. Freeman made a documentary called The Lair of the Worm, and it's on YouTube. It has real stories from witnesses and locals, but he proposes one theory for the creature that does make a lot of sense, and he believed it was an unknown species of Amphisbaenian, which is a worm-like lizard, but it's definitely in the lizard and snake family. We'll discuss that more during Weird Club. Like I said, this cryptid is a celebrity, having been the inspiration for many movies, including the Hollywood blockbusters Tremors. Now, Kevin Bacon was in the first one, and I have to say, it's not a bad movie, but there were a total of 7 movies in that franchise. The beast in the movie was based off of the Mongolian deathworm. There was also a made-for-television movie that was on Sci-Fi, which was titled Mongolian Deathworm. And there are many different video games that have something like this creature in them. There were also many different cryptid shows that the worm was investigated on. The 2 most popular ones were Beast Hunter, or Beastman in the UK, that aired in 2011, but he caught no solid evidence. And it was also featured on my favorite show, Destination Truth, in 2008. But sadly, Josh Gates and the team didn't catch anything either. What is challenging about this cryptid is there really isn't any physical evidence. Plus, a lot of the sightings or stories we know are secondhand accounts, which is really tricky to take seriously due to not knowing the origin, or maybe it got mixed up in the retelling and many other things. But the thing we can hang on to is what we talked about in Hellhounds with Jenna. The sightings and descriptions were thought by some to be too numerous and similar in ways for it to all be a coincidence or a misidentification. This week's segment of Weird Club is with my friend Carly. Let's see what she thinks about Deathworm. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Weird Club segment of the show. Today we have my friend Carly. Hey, Carly.
Hi.
Okay, Carly, question. Are you a skeptic or a believer?
I am gonna go with believer because I'm so gullible. Like, I hate to say it, but like you can tell me one thing and like I'll be like, oh my gosh, so true. Or it's like I had a dream. I'm like, that sounds real. I bet like that was so real. Like, no, I'm so gullible. So yeah, I'm going with believer.
That's amazing. That is a phenomenal answer.
Thanks.
So you have heard all about this Mongolian deathworm. What are your first thoughts right off the bat?
Well, I think she's really scary, but she's kind of fierce. Like, I would never want to run into her.
Right.
But the fact that, I mean, you told me that a whole village fled just by the thought of her, like, that's kind of fierce. Like, I kind of want that power in my life.
True.
So I'm gonna go with she's cool, but really scary.
Right. So the thing that about this, I mean, like, I'm sure like cryptid fans like me, we know about this deathworm. We've heard about it so many times. We know what it can do. And then anybody who's watched Tremors knows what it can do as well.
Absolutely.
But I had to say, like, when I started researching this, so what I do when I put episodes for the podcast, I kind of split up things that I think are fake and then real, and I kind of like mix them up so that the listeners get like a good balance. And
so
I
the gullible people like me, no, you can just dive right in.
I put this one into like believe, like, is real, which is why it's after Hellhounds, which Jenna and I just tore apart. But I, now that I've like done the research, I'm honestly at a loss because like almost all of the stories are secondhand accounts.
Right.
Like, and no, like, I don't know. It just, it seems like every story or every sighting that has happened is all through someone else. Like,
Right,
oh,
right,
my
right.
brother saw it, or like, oh, my one of my family members died from this, which is like, are you like, how sure are we
Did
though?
they really?
Like, how sure are we that it was the death worm?
Right.
So that's like just from off the bat for me, that's where I'm like, I'm weary
True.
because
And no pictures, you said.
yes, there's no
Yeah.
photo evidence, and that, I mean, like, I don't know. I guess it's 2020, and I know that like probably in the Gobi they're not like running for the new
Snapping
iPhone.
selfies. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
But after all these expeditions that have happened and like TV crews and all that stuff, like nobody's caught anything.
That's where I'm like, you told me about the movies and TV shows that
Hmm.
have come about, and I'm like, really, like, no one, like, not even like the tale of her going back into the
Yeah.
sand, like, we've got nothing. That's where yeah, I agree in this day and age.
Yeah, like it's just, I don't know. You'd think that they would caught something, even like even track marks in the sand, you
Yeah,
know?
or the vibrations of the sand, like you said,
Right.
she'll like vibrate when she's
Yeah.
about to attack or something. Sometimes, like, they could track those. They can track vibrations, like,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah. So that's just where I am. Like, I'm just like, I'm wary. But at
yeah,
the same time, like all the stories are the same.
right.
And I guess to be fair, like, with other cryptids, like big, like other mammals, there are like delineations that are easy to kind of like talk about. And in this one, it's like a worm, and you know exactly what it is. Whereas, like, if
Right.
I said like, it was a hairy thing, then you're like, okay, well, that could be anything. So
Anything,
you just,
right, 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 right.
so I don't know, maybe that's the case of like the sightings are all the same because it's not hard to explain what you saw, or it's
Yeah,
not hard to make up what you saw either because you
right.
just say it was a worm. Um,
A huge
but
worm.
yeah, like a huge worm. But so there was the scientist who kind of who did expeditions, and he theorized an interesting. Um, basically, he said that he thinks what's happening to people is they are having like a psychological problem due to the heat in the desert. And
Oh,
we hear about mirages, we hear about heat exhaustion, all that stuff.
yeah.
Um, and he basically was like, listen, they said that the sightings are more intense during June and July, which are peak
Yeah.
hotness. I don't think that's how you would say, like, peak
Hotness.
peak hotness, like
Peak
me during
heat.
the
You
fall.
like me? Like me right now at this very
Like
moment.
me in my sweatshirt right now. Um, but honestly, like, that makes sense. If people are just having these like heat exhausted
Do they
visions.
do they know about the worm before they go?
Yeah, so here's the thing. Ever since the expedition by Indiana Jones in
Yes.
the 20s,
Yes.
this worm is like known by everyone,
Okay. Okay.
especially adventurers and explorers. Like, they know this thing. So if that's
They
already like, if you're going to the Gobi Desert
yeah.
and that's in your mind, heat exhaustion, boom, worm.
Boom. Worm. Heat exhaustion equals worm.
Worm. Exactly, and that's what that means. But it's
Wow.
honestly like it's an interesting theory. That being said, like, I mean, I've never had a heat
I
exhausted
know. I kind of wish
fit.
I did. Like
Like, should I go lay out
I
in the
could give
sun?
more. I know. Yeah, pause really quick. We gotta go.
But I guess like it does happen. Like, we've seen in movies when people think there's like an oasis in the desert, and then there's not.
Right.
Um, so yeah, that's like one theory that I'd
I
jump on
could get
board with.
behind that. Yeah.
Like, that makes sense. Now there's another one, which is that this is just a case of mistaken identity, of the amphisbaenian, which is that like snake wormy type thing. Um, because here's the thing. So scientists and zoologists were like, listen, even if this thing exists, it's not a worm, because worms need moisture to survive, and there is not enough moisture in the Gobi Desert for a worm to survive.
But it could just look like a worm. Like it could be part of the snake family, like the Amphisbaenium.
Right. So that's kind of what they're saying. They're saying that
Okay,
basically
okay.
like this thing can't be a worm. If anything, it's an amphisbaenian.
Uh, but but it looks so different.
Right.
And the Amphisbaenium looks so much smaller. Like
Yeah.
the Amphisbaenium, I'd be like, oh, I've like little that little pet. The Mongolian death worm, I'm like, no, thank you.
Yeah. So that's I mean, this is what zoologists are saying, who are the rational people trying to
I
like come up
mean,
with things.
I guess they know a little more than me, I would
Yeah,
say
same.
too. So
I I agree. Like I too. They know more than me.
fine.
But I'm still gonna push their buttons.
Yeah.
So like I think that one of them did say though that he was like, listen, I'm not ruling out that this is an unknown species or a cryptid.
Sure.
He was like, I just don't think it's a worm. He was like, I think if anything, this is an amphisbaenian that we haven't figured out yet. Um, and there are other sorry, not worms. There are other snakes in the like that are known in the Gobi.
Okay.
Um, but then they were like, listen, because apparently this thing, can shoot venom and which is not uncommon for snakes. Like they're
Yeah.
like cobras do shoot venom, and there are other ones. Um, and apparently this thing also, I forget if I told you, apparently this thing can also like has electricity with it. So like when it's going under, like it like can shock you and stuff.
Oh, she's Sparky.
Yeah, she's Sparky. And they're saying
Oh,
that, I mean, electric eels can do that.
yeah.
So all the things that are being claimed that this cryptid can do are not far off from like actual,
Animals.
yeah, like
Yeah.
proven things.
Sure.
Um,
That's interesting.
so that's kind of why they're like there is some merit to it because like it's not like this thing is claimed to, I don't know, like do
Fly in the
yeah,
sky.
fly in the sky and then dive into the sand. Like
Right.
yeah. Um, but so about 40 years ago, there was a Russian publication called The Amphibians of Mongolia.
Oh.
Mongolia, not Mongolia. Close to Magnolia.
Magnolia baby.
Oh my gosh. But so basically, the author's name is Yuri Gorlov, and he's a zoologist, and he worked in Mongolia in the 70s. And he talks about a time when he shared a picture of a snake called the Tartar sand boa to locals, and they confirmed that picture was the Mongolian death worm. And he was like, whoa, 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 whoa. You're telling me this thing right here is what you guys see? And they apparently were like, uh-huh, uh-huh. And then he was like, case closed. I
Case
solved it.
closed. Done.
He was like, oh my gosh, I solved this thing. So this snake, I mean, it's definitely a snake. Like, it's not like a worm.
It's not a worm. Is it
um,
this big? This
I
Mongolian
don't,
death worm, she could be 7 feet. I don't trust her.
right. So I'm going to send you a picture of this because I think there is something interesting about the sand boa. Um, like we've all seen snakes.
Oh
Um,
my God.
so although they don't grow, like basically the females can reach up to 4 feet in length,
Okay.
and the males are much smaller because females rule in the animal kingdom. Um,
Absolutely.
amen. But the thing that is interesting about the snake is its head. It looks less like a snake. Like it doesn't have a diamond head. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
have that kind of like cone shape. It's like it's a dome. Like it looks like a
Yeah, it
worm.
does look like a worm head.
Um, apparently, though, these creatures are very docile. Like they've been kept in captivity before, um,
Oh.
and they explain that their behavior is very docile. Um, and the biggest thing is that the snakes are non-venomous.
Oh.
So I don't know. I feel like that's like obviously not it.
Yeah, if so much of the evidence is that like, oh, there was venom in
Right.
the imprint, the sand, or like there's so much of the evidence proves that there's venom that I think that's not okay.
Yeah. Like it just can't be.
Yeah.
It can't be that. Um,
Also, the pictures and the sketches of the Mongolian death worm, she looks thick.
Yeah, she a big girl.
Yeah.
And that is definitely not like this snake is not.
She's more snake-like. She's more
Yeah.
thin, luxurious.
Um, yeah, which is like that's odd. That's weird.
Right.
Um, so there's one more kind of explanation for what this thing might be. And it has to do with something that is involved with all cryptid cases, which is folklore. Um,
Taylor Swift? Is that you?
yes, yes, exactly.
Oh
T
my gosh.
Swift is the
Okay.
reason this cryptid is. um, so some cryptozoologists believe that this, and even scientists and zoologists, just people in general that investigate this, think that this is nothing like nothing,
No, thick.
nothing, nothing more than a boogeyman story, to try to keep kids away from snakes. Because in the Gobi there are other desert-like animals that are venomous, and they don't like that. I mean, and even with the boa, although it's non-venomous, it can still bite. And if it's a boa, it means it can constrict. Um,
Right.
so either way, they shouldn't be touching these animals.
Right.
So some think that it was created by early settlers or nomads or villagers, as a kind of way to keep their kids from hurting themselves in the desert when they were roaming
Okay.
by themselves. And then it just took a life of its own. Like it just
It ran
spiraled
with
out
it.
of
Yeah.
control. Um, the thing about it, though, is that doesn't explain all the sightings. Um,
Right.
it doesn't explain how, and I mean, like, technically, again, yeah, we talked about this. All the stories were secondhand accounts,
Sure.
which could just be that silly game of telephone where
Mhm.
it started as one thing and now it's, something
It's huge.
nuts.
Right, right, right.
Um, and this is like not uncommon in cryptid cases, and it's one thing you kind of have to think about in everything, to be able to think about it logically and see it as a big picture. Um, and in this case, although like part of me leans towards it just being folklore in a story, I just don't see how something like this could warrant so many different expeditions
Yeah.
over the course of like 100 years.
Because like scientists are smart. They
Right.
wouldn't go that's the
That,
that's
that's
the
it.
cold case right there. Scientists are smart. Like they I don't think so many of them would go after something like spend all the money, do all the traveling, spend their time like they only get to look for a certain number of things in their lifetime,
Yeah.
like I don't think they would want to waste that on something that they truly didn't believe they would actually find something. And obviously they didn't, but like
Right.
they believed it that they something was there.
Right. And even like the villagers believe that something is there. Like,
Right.
um, you know, you can't make up the story, like seeing these people talking to camera crews being like, I mean, like telling their side of the story or saying what they saw. Um, and that's kind of where I'm like, I don't know. Like, I don't think it's just folklore. If
Yeah.
I mean, like, there are probably not very nice people out there that are, making up stories and stuff.
Yeah.
But it just seems like I think if anything, I'm more leaning towards this being an amphisbaenian that either hasn't been found yet, um,
Like a different
or
species of
yeah,
amphisbaenia. That
I
would
mean,
be
like,
that makes a lot of sense.
right, because like we're finding scientists and zoologists are finding new species like on the daily.
Right.
So, and especially what is interesting is it's a lot of like reptiles that they are finding, um, and sea creatures as well, because only 5% of the ocean has been discovered.
Right.
But I don't know. I feel like nobody's gone into the Gobi Desert and like went through all the sand to figure out what was
Yeah.
there. Like,
Well, also, like, how many? Because maybe it doesn't attack when there's a ton of people. Like, maybe she's shy.
right. I mean, it could be like that's a normal predatory thing is to
Yeah.
pick your battles. And so she like the Mongolian death worm is like that, like, you know, as sad as it is,
Someone's
that
by
little
himself.
boy is by himself. I can
Right.
take him down.
Right.
Um,
Because it also might, I mean, maybe these sketches and stuff are wrong. Like maybe it's not that big. Maybe it's
right,
actually very small. So, you don't attack something that could potentially kill you if it's
right,
bigger or more powerful than you. So if there's more people, then obviously it would be like,
right. And we know of snake. I mean, like the boa constrictors are massive. Like
right.
they are massive, and they are on the chunkier side. No offense to them. And I think especially if they ate a human, they'd be on the even
They'd
chunkier side.
be they'd be very
Should be
full.
chunky. So like I don't know, maybe this is like an amphisbaenian that is some like maybe looks like the sand, like maybe looks like this tartar sand boa, but is a bigger version of it,
Right.
or something like that. I don't know. I just feel like that's and nonetheless that would still be considered a cryptid because it's a creature that has not been proven to exist.
Yes.
So
So
there's
bada
that.
bing, bada boom.
But I don't know. I really think like I don't think this is I don't think it's like the Mongolian death worm. Like I don't think it's this worm with teeth and little talons that all the
Right.
pictures show. Or like in Tremors where it like opens its mouth and it like eats people. I don't think it's
Well,
that. Because if it was that, I feel like it would have taken over the world by now.
probably.
So I don't know.
At least the Gobi Desert.
At least the Gobi Desert. Gobi would
Yeah.
be like off limits, guys.
Yeah.
That worm's got it. Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like if anything, this is a species that we haven't found out yet. So
What it is. Yeah.
yeah, so technically, that does mean that it's still
It's
cryptid.
cryptid.
But I wish that there were more like picture. Like I wish there was photo evidence.
Right.
Like
Or
even
just,
tail.
yeah, something. And even more like recent too.
Yeah, I don't know. That's the thing. That's the only part of this that I'm
Boo.
like I don't know. Like
Or
that's
they may
weird.
have found it. Like, yeah, it might be something that they've already found. And they just
Right.
haven't put the pieces together yet. I mean, scientists are smart. I'm sure they would put the pieces together. But
But nonetheless, like sometimes
yeah,
things get
they got
swaddled.
other priorities too. They
Yeah.
got other stuff to find.
That's the thing. Like, in both of the at least the both the episodes of like the shows that I watched about the like the people going to find them, um, they set out trap cameras. They did all these
Oh,
things,
yeah.
and they didn't catch any like worm type thing. But also, if this thing lives in the sand, you're not gonna catch it.
Right.
Why the fuck would it be out on the like land if it doesn't have to be?
Yeah, right. That's true.
So
We gotta get
that's
some like underground sand cameras up in
I
here.
know. I mean, like honestly, what they need to. Well, here's the other thing. Now that I'm thinking about it,
Oh,
does this thing have pre-existing tunnels in the sand, or does it just forge a tunnel as it
right.
moves?
She gotta be strong. Sand is tough.
Yeah, and that's like a lot of sand to move too.
Yeah.
But because like I'm trying to like moles and voles and whatever all the things that live in the ground,
Yeah.
they have to make tunnels. Like like even
Right.
ants, they have to make tunnels in their little sand or dirt
But
piles.
I feel like they would have seen, because you always see like gopher holes. I feel like they would have been
Right.
like, ah, the Mongolian death worm hole.
And here's the thing also is that in the desert, there are so many lizards and other snakes and probably like rodents too. Like I think some mice live in the desert, or I'm not a desert expert, but to the point where there probably are holes around,
Yeah.
but since they think this thing is massive, they're like, well, that can't be its hole.
Can't fit in there. Right, right,
Right.
right.
Where maybe this unknown thing is not as big as people claim it to be. And
Right.
that is like, that's where it lives. And then you're just walking, like you're missing it completely.
Right. I think
Um,
that's
because, like when our lives are at stake and we're scared, um,
I've been there a
our
couple
brain,
times.
yeah, right. Our brain makes up the size of things, like can
Right, right.
exaggerate details. So maybe that's exactly what happened. Like,
Yeah.
because honestly, like 2 to 7 feet, that's not that big. Like
Yeah. When we're
two
talking, I mean,
feet,
if we're talking about a worm, it's big, but if you're talking about
right?
like a human, like,
Yeah, or even a
or like a
snake,
bear, a
like
snake.
because boa constrictors are can like if you like hold that shit up,
Right. She
Like,
she lengthy.
they are lengthy girls. Would be in Legs musical.
Yeah. The showgirl of
She is a show.
animals.
It's truly. She's a showgirl of the animals. That's gonna be your quote for the episode.
Yeah.
Um, but so like I don't know. Maybe I just feel like this is. I feel like this is a mistaken identity. I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say it for sure. Like I'm 100% sure. No, that's a lie.
Case cold.
I'm
Closed.
99.9% sure that it's
Mistaken
just mistaken
identity.
identity.
I could see that. I think if they did want to try to prove something, they need to get like vibration trackers. Like they need to set out some, and then they could dive into where that is. I think I'm going with that.
And I think that like it's not like a 2 nights in the desert type thing.
No,
what
no,
I
no,
mean?
no, no. We're talking years.
Yeah, like I feel like this is you gotta move there because
Yeah, someone's got to dedicate their life to
Yeah.
figuring this out.
because the locals are saying they see this thing, and obviously
Right.
they're gonna see it more than anybody else because they live there.
Right.
And also like I'm sure, I mean, most animals are fairly intelligent to, in the sense of like survival,
Mm-hmm.
of like either they see it, feel it, hear it, whatever, but they're like, this smells like danger to me, so
So I'm
I'm not
avoiding
going.
it.
Like
Absolutely.
like that's not where I'm gonna be. So yeah, like if there's a bunch of people just fucking walking around the desert where people know and
Right.
don't go,
Hunting.
yeah, like I feel like any species would be like, no thank
Absolutely not.
you, no thank you. I'm
I'll
staying
stay under the
home.
ground.
Like and even if they do come up, like I don't know, like I just don't buy this as a giant worm thing.
Yeah.
is eating
That no
people
one's ever
left
taken
and
a
right.
picture of. And yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. I feel like case closed.
Yeah. Just misidentified.
Misidentification.
Yeah.
Just a classic misidentification. Well, thanks, Carly, for coming on.
Oh my
to the
gosh,
podcast.
thank you.
So fun to have you, and thanks for all your
So fun to be
expertise.
here. Yeah,
You know,
I give what I can.
you're such a
I'm no
saint.
scientist, but
Oh my goodness. Okay, well, thank you. Much thanks.
yes,
Love you.
love the Weird Club.
So what do you think? Is the Mongolian deathworm really out there? We are on Instagram, @OutThereCryptids, so make sure to follow us and tell us all of your thoughts on the cryptids we cover and what you'd like to hear next. It would mean a lot to us if you could go to Apple Podcast and leave us a review. It's a great way for other people to find the podcast and enjoy, just like you. 1 week from today, I will be covering a case about a man who believes he is a werewolf. The case of Bill Ramsey. See you next week. This episode was written and hosted by me, Josh, with logo design by Jason Sykes and theme music from purpleplanet.com.